Christian parenting.
Hey parents, Easter is almost here. Can you believe it? Well, I loved my Easter baskets growing up. I don't know about you, but yes, they had candy. They also had a Cadbury egg, but my mom always included a new devotional or something like that to help me grow in my faith. And I've really tried to pass down that same tradition to my kids at Easter time. So for your Easter baskets, we've got you covered at Christian Parenting with our Easter bundle. You'll love it as parents because all of Christian Parenting's trusted resources are biblically sound, and your kids will love it because they're just fun and colorful treats and gifts for them to help them grow in their faith. So here's what the Easter bundle includes. The first thing is God's Holy Spirit in Me. This is an interactive 20-day devotional for kids ages 6 to 12, and this explores what it means to have God's Spirit working in their lives. The second thing in the bundle is scripture affirmation cards. That's 25 cards packed with truths from God's Word to remind your kids of their identity in Christ and give them confidence every day. And then lastly, the bundle includes noteworthy prayers, and these are customizable cards with prayers, scripture, and space for you as their parent to write personal notes of encouragement for your child. These fun and faith-filled resources are now bundled for just $35. That's 20% off the full price. So don't wait. Order your bundle now and make this Easter truly unforgettable for your family. Visit cpgive.org to get your bundle today, and that's cpgive.org. Did you know that we spend nearly a third of our lives in bed? That's a lot of time. So why not make every night's sleep the best it can be? Avocado Green Mattress is committed to providing mattresses that not only help you sleep better, but are also healthier for both you and the planet. Avocado mattresses are designed to provide exceptional comfort and support with options ranging from gentle firm to plush. I prefer a little plush, meeting diverse sleep needs and preferences. You can visit one of their retail stores or one of their premier retail partners to experience that comfort in person, or they even have a mattress quiz to see which mattress and comfort option is right for you. And Avocado is committed to sustainability. Their mattresses are made from organic, eco-friendly materials that are good for both you and the planet. Plus, their mattresses are built to last, so we can keep more mattresses out of the landfill. Head on over to avocadomattress.com today and save up to 10% on certified organic mattresses. Dream of better. Hey friends, welcome to Part in the Mess. I'm your host, Courtney DeFeo, and for today's episode, I've got one story, hilarious story. I think it's hilarious. One typical Courtney story. Like if you know me, you're going to be like, that makes perfect sense for her. One intro of our amazing guest, Carlos Whittaker, and then one challenge for us all. And so the story goes like this. So I am a sucker for the online advertisement. Like something will scroll by and I'll just believe it. I even worked in advertising, so I know how this works. But I'm like, I am the target customer that's going to every time swipe up and add to cart. So on this particular day, a little ad went by my phone somewhere, somehow talking about these cute little umbrellas you can put over your phone when you're at the beach. So it's like it gives enough shade so you can check your phone and you can see what's going on. And I thought with my upcoming spring break trip, Ella was kind enough to allow me and her friends' moms go on spring break with them. So as this episode is being published this week, we are actually on spring break, 4 seniors and 4 senior moms, and they're so sweet to let us come. But we were excited about that. And so I thought, what a funny gag gift to get them these little umbrellas, and they don't need to be on their phones. We're going to talk about that today, but I thought it would be funny. So I didn't really look at the details. It was cheap. It was Amazon. I'm like, add to cart, hilarious. So I get them in the mail. And this is what happened. I knew that somehow this little umbrella had to attach to your phone. And I saw that there was like a little suction cup animal of some sorts, and it was pink. And so I get it. I open the package and I'm like, oh my word, this is a pig. It's a pig suctioning to the back of the phone. The umbrella goes on top and the little handle of the umbrella connects to that little pig. But you know how it connects, folks? Think about it. How does it connect to this pig? It is being held by its butt cheeks. Butt cheeks. I was like, this is even more perfect than I ever dreamed. I mean, this is just perfect. So I'm hoping today, as we're on spring break, that I can get a solid picture of 4 18-year-old girls laying out or whatever they do as they're checking their phone. They're holding a little umbrella with some pig butt cheeks. So stay tuned for that. And if you need the link, just let me know. But what we're really talking about today is actually how to disconnect from your device. And so that umbrella would not be something that Carlos Whittaker is advertising, because he's all about how do we put our devices down in a way that we can reconnect with our own lives, reconnect with the world around us, reconnect with strangers, and definitely reconnect with kids. Carlos, if you don't know him, he's been on the podcast before, but he is a very, very popular author, speaker, podcaster. He's got just the most inspirational online community called Instafamilia. His group will rally together and do a big giving campaign. There are just so many cool people over there. So if you're coming over from the Instafamilia, we're glad you're here, and we hope you enjoy this version of Carlos on the other side of the mic, and him really sharing what God has taught him through his parenting journey, even now that he has grown kids that are leaving the house, how he connects with his kids. And then also, I love that he shared about his father that just passed away. And he shares some great insight on just looking back and appreciating what his dad did bring to the table. And so as we close here, before you listen to Carlos, I want to give us a challenge. And I have been hard on my own parents. I think any of us look back as you become parents and think like, well, I would have done that differently, or I would have done that differently. And so I was thinking about my dad today and thought, could I go back and make a list of all the things I remember? I remember when he took us on that ski trip. I remember when he used to wash the car every weekend, and he's still alive, so I can tell him these things. But I wonder how often in parenting that we are just zone focused. And some of you have some significant, I guess, relationship trouble, and maybe you're not in relationship with your mother or father. And so that's not who I'm speaking to, whether you have some healthy boundaries. But if you're in relationship at some level with your mother or father, could you do a brainstorm today and kind of just jot down, what do you remember? Do you remember a trip? Do you remember a hug? Do you remember a letter? Do you remember something your mom or dad cooked? And then send that off to them. You can wait for Father's Day or Mother's Day, or you can just do it right now. And so I was really pressed by that, just on my heart to do that myself. And I thought, what a good challenge for all of us, just to take a minute and try to think about the things that they did do well and that impacted you, and then let them know, because we probably don't do that as often as we let them know where we're disappointed. So here we go with one awesome dad, one awesome son and friend and husband, Carlos Whittaker. Hey, Carlos. Welcome back to Part of the Mess.
Hey, Courtney. You get to say welcome back, because I've been part of the mess before.
Yeah, you are. People love you. You're up there. People, when your name is attached, people listen. You've got so much wisdom and just real. I love it. I love it so much.
Well, I feel like I can actually now I feel like I can actually come onto this podcast because I have successfully, as of just a few months ago, my youngest turned 18. So I've successfully gotten all my kids to 18 years old, and none of them have been to jail yet. We're halfway through the whole thing. Pretty exciting.
Don't you feel like we should get awards? I'm like, where's the ceremony when they walk across the stage? It's like, where's my medal? That was hard.
Literally, all they had to do was wake up on time and brush their teeth. We're the ones that had to keep them doing their homework and all the things.
I was making some appointments for my daughters the other day. I was like, how do people do this with more than 2 kids? I'm like, Ron's like, what did you do today? I'm like, I don't know. Call the dentist, call the chiropractor, looked at their schedule. It's a lot. But I'm realizing my 18-year-old, I'm like finally going, oh, you should call. And by the way, I can't call for her. I called to make her an appointment. They were like, well, she's 18. She has to call us. I'm like,
I know.
Right,
isn't that great? I know.
Yeah, it's amazing.
You got to do it. Grown up.
It's a gift.
Yep.
Okay, so you're not at home right now. I'm seeing some little beachscapes that don't look like Heather's style of decor. I'm like, that's not what you have on your wall.
First of all, my wife would really appreciate the fact that that this would not be her vibe. Which no offense to beach scene vibe people, that's fine. It's just it's not our thing.
Not hers.
We're at an Airbnb here in Southern California.
Okay. Awesome. Hey, I'm so sorry. I don't even have the words to say about losing your dad. I have been following closely to your story and so touched by, and just the sliver that you shared. I know that wasn't all of it, but just watching your mom care for him and just the tenderness of that you were with him. I thought, man, you could do a school on how all of us can care for our aging parents, which was just beautiful to watch.
Yeah. Well, thank you. We're here at the point of this recording to lay my dad to rest. Here in Southern California. I bought the house across the street from my house about 1.5 years ago to move my mom and dad into it to care for him for what I thought would be 5 or 6 years. But the dementia progressed pretty quickly at the end there. And, I don't think I ever questioned whether or not I should share kind of the intimacy of caring for my parents as they're aging, as we share the intimacy of caring for our babies when they're born.
Right, it's true. Yeah.
it's just that it's the other side that nobody really ever talks about.
Right.
And so I think I know it was very powerful for people to see. And I'm grateful that my dad really allowed me to do that. When he first got dementia, I asked him, I said, Dad, when he still had his, some wherewithal with him, can I share this with people? And he's like, absolutely, if it'll help people. So I did all the way till the end.
Wow. You shared a few slides today on Instagram, again, at the time of the recording. Will you share a story about when you were 20 and you got kicked out of school and then what happened? I was just blown away by that story.
Oh my gosh. It's crazy. It's still crazy every time I talk about it. And I would even ask my dad over and over, Dad, was I dreaming? Did that really happen? He'd say, oh no, it happened. So I'm kicked out of college. I'm partying. I'm working at Buffalo Wild Wings, bartending. And I'm just like on a rager, right? And, medicating my wounds and living in Rome, Georgia, because I got expelled from Berry College. So I'm just living in Rome, Georgia, with like no purpose in life, right?
With like 4 people. That's not a big scene there.
Yeah. And so I was in a duplex, and it just was, it was a dark season for me. And I remember waking up around 3 a.m. and the room felt darker than dark, right? Like, so it was already dark, but like, it just felt like there was something scary going on. And I didn't know if I was having a panic attack. I didn't know if it was something evil in there. So I did what I always do. And at 3 a.m, which I guess that would have been midnight LA, because that's where my parents were living, I reached for the phone to call my dad. And at that point, we had phones attached to walls, just so that people understand, kind of where we're talking about here.
There was a cord involved.
Yeah. And so I reached for the phone to call my dad. And honest to God, as I reached for this phone at 3 a.m, it rang.
No way.
And Courtney, I remember thinking and I let it ring a few times because I was thinking, I'm about to pick this up and hear like the voice of like some, demon coming through, that's how dark it felt. And so I picked it up and I heard my dad, and he just said, Carlos, it's okay. That's what my dad says to me. He goes, it's okay. God woke me up to pray for you.
Oh my gosh.
And I want to let you know. And I'm like shaking and sobbing. I want to let you know that you need to come home and you need to sit with your father. And so I hung the phone up and I started packing my little Honda Accord at 3 a.m. I didn't tell this in the slide. 3 a.m, packed everything I could fit in there. At 9 a.m, I knocked on my next door neighbor. It was like a Vietnamese family, next door neighbors. And I said, hey, everything in the condo is yours. I'm leaving.
Wow.
Whatever I couldn't fit. And they were like, thank you. And I started driving to California.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You know what it makes me think? Like, I get up in the night, but typically if it's about my kids, I'm worrying. Like I'm stewing on something. So then I pray for them and talk to Jesus. But like, it's never dawned on me. And I guess because my kids aren't out of the house yet, that it's like, he's convicting you, not, or just nudging you to reach out to them.
Yes.
Which is so crazy that he did that. That's amazing.
To call me at 3 a.m. like that. And, I just, and that's like the GOAT of parenting stories, like
so cool.
I'm like, so, it's everything I want to be as a dad. So,
and he was so sure. It wasn't like, Carlos, are you struggling with something?
No.
Like he was like, I heard from the Lord and come home. That's amazing.
He said, it's going to be okay.
All right. We are going to talk about your book, Reconnected, which you had a crazy story to get to this book about living with some Amish folks, living in a monastery, which is just only you. I'm like, only Carlos would be like, let's not just take a quick sabbatical off of our phone and learn about disconnecting. Let's go do this thing. So I want to talk about that, but just to kind of bridge the gap to that, how did your dad connect with you? And as you think about connecting with your teens, like what's something you watched him do that you have emulated in your parenting?
My dad wasn't like a sports dad. Like he wasn't, we weren't outside playing catch. We weren't watching sports on TV. And I remember when I was younger, almost being a little envious of my friends and their relationship with their dad, because that was kind of their dad. But what I guess I didn't realize is that the entire time I was not only growing up in my adolescence, but even in my, young adult life, is that my father would reach out to me or sit with me or call me. First, it was sit with me every single day. So at breakfast, he would always have breakfast with me when I was 7. Like he would always just be there with me. When I moved to college, he would call me every single day. When I got married, he would send these news articles that he would find reading the newspaper in a manila envelope. There was just a constant
That's amazing.
Yeah. And then he'd write a note on it, with a little paper clip, and he's like, Carlos, I thought this was interesting. I love you, Dad, and they would show up in my mailbox, right? And there was just this constant, never-ending point of touch
Wow.
that I've tried to, not even tried, I think it's just kind of come through me, emulated with my kids. I just want them to constantly feel my presence in whatever appropriateness it needs to be in the season that they're in, right? My oldest daughter, she just got married. And so, it's different now. She's got a husband. She doesn't need me to call her every day, but I'm constantly making sure that she knows that I'm here and then I'm thinking about her in whatever capacity that is. So I think that's something that my dad did for me that I think was, pretty powerful.
So tell us how this came about. So you're just like, one day, I'm sick of this phone, and then you just go move to Amish country? Like, what happened?
Yeah. So no, I'll tell you what happened was the thing that happens to all of us every Sunday. If you have an iPhone or an Android phone, you get a notification that slides across your phone on Sundays that we just swipe away. We don't even look at it. And it's cruel. It's that screen time notification. It's that you have averaged so many hours and minutes a day. Now, normally what we do is we look at it and we go, well, that sucks. And then we just kind of keep going. For some reason, this one Sunday, I guess it was 2022, I decided to really look at it. And it said that I'd averaged 7 hours and 23 minutes a day on my phone. And immediately I thought, well, this is my job. I talk to my phone for a living. This is my computer. My CPA friends are in front of spreadsheets all day. This is what I do.
Yeah.
But then I just started doing the math, and the math is what took me down this road. The math was 7 hours and 23 minutes a day. I said, I wonder how many hours a week that is. Well, that was about 49 hours a week. So then suddenly I was like, well, that's 2 entire days of my 2 days of my week. I'm looking at my phone. Wow, that's horrible. So then I kept doing the math, and that math took me to 100 days a year. So I was like, so hold on. If this is true, this math on the screen, I'm looking at this 3 months a year. That's crazy. Then I kept doing the math. And my last equation is what sent me to the monastery. It said if I live to be 83, 84 years old, I can't remember how old it was, and I continue at the rate with my phone, I will spend more than 12 years of my life looking at my screen.
Too many years.
So suddenly I just was like, okay, and you know me, I just was like, what do I do? Let me go big or nothing. And initially I was like, let me spend a week at a cabin, not looking at a screen. But then I was like, nope. So the process was I went to a neuroscientist. He scanned my brain. Then I didn't look at a screen for basically 2 months. I moved into a Benedictine monastery for 2 weeks. I moved into an Amish farm for 2 weeks. And then I lived at home with my family for 3 weeks, never looking at a screen. Then got my brain scanned again at the end and wrote a book about it.
That's incredible. And you saw change, of course. But the brain scientist was like, what did he say with your results?
Well, he actually, it led him to wanting to do a proper study, because obviously this wasn't like a scientific study, right? I was the only data point. It was just my brain. But what he saw in my brain was about 5 years of healing in my cerebellum. And then my cognitive memory score went from the 50th percentile of men in America to the 99th percentile of men in America. So
that's insane.
My memory, and my father, he had dementia. So there's brain stuff that I'm constantly thinking about. And it was dramatic. But I would say even beyond that, beyond the brain stuff, what started off being an experiment about not looking at a phone quickly within 3 days was no longer about a phone. It was all about living. It was all about all these things we've forgotten how to do as we live.
Yeah.
That I'm, again, trying to help people reconnect back with. So the book's not about your phone. I think people pick it up thinking, oh my gosh, it's going to help me. It's going to help me not look at my phone. I think quickly they're going to realize, oh, wait a second, the phone's not the problem. We've got to reconnect with community and relationships and all these things that we've forgotten how to do because of our phones.
Yeah. But watching you from afar, and I don't live in your house, but I would say you're pretty intentional about that. It's a priority for you. So what did you notice in those 3 weeks with your family that ramped up or that were different and are connected? Because it wasn't and I know this is your job, but I don't view you as a person that is only here and neglecting your kids. But what happened when those 3 weeks?
Yeah, those 3 weeks, I'll put it this way. There was a quote that I quote my daughter at the time. She was 18, looked at me and she said, probably week 2 of the 3 with them. And she said, Dad, this is the purest version of you I've ever had.
Wow.
And I was like, woof.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. And
it's amazing.
That I think that quote speaks to itself, I've always been intentional, I've always been, I think, intentional with my kids, but they saw a gigantic difference in me to where when it was time for me to fly back to LA, to get my phone from my best friend and get my brain rescanned, everybody cried. My whole family did. Like Heather cried. Everybody was like, oh, we're going to miss this version of you. That was pretty powerful. Yeah.
From VeggieTales co-creator and voice of Larry the Cucumber, Mike Naraki, comes a faith-filled middle grade series called The Dead Sea Squirrels. Young readers will love the nutty misadventures of a 10-year-old Michael and his friends as they navigate everyday life at school, learn about the Bible, and flee from a squirrel napper and much more. Filled with enough clean humor and excitement to entice reluctant readers while also teaching them wholesome biblical lessons. Kids will laugh out loud and learn more about the life of Jesus from Merle and Pearl, two previously petrified squirrels who lived during Bible times. Read all 12 Dead Sea Squirrel books, available wherever books are sold, and stream the animated series today at Minnow. Hey moms, what are you feeling today? Are you tired, afraid, limited maybe, or angry, a little overwhelmed? I know I definitely feel overwhelmed this week, but for every difficult moment you face, there's biblical encouragement waiting for you. Authors Emily A. Jensen and Laura Wiffler, they are the host of the Risen Motherhood podcast. They've created a collection of writings to help you apply gospel wisdom to any situation that you're going through. The chapters are short, and best of all, they are hyper specific to what you might be facing on any given day. From where you can't seem to get it right, we've all been there, right? To when you're worn out from carrying your infant child and everything in between. Emily and Laura's new book, A Million Tiny Moments, is out now. You can find it wherever books are sold or go to risenmotherhood.com. That's risenmotherhood.com. Check out A Million Tiny Moments now.
So what does it look like now? So, I've mentioned like 12 times, but this is your job. You are online a lot. So what does it look like now? How did you learn from that? And then how do you still engage in your job?
Yeah. I think the beauty of it is what I learned from the monks and what I learned from the Amish is what I really implemented into my life that reduced my screen time tremendously. So I still, if you look at the content I was posting before this experiment and then the content I'm posting after the experiment, you wouldn't think anything changed. Which is the beautiful part of it, is that I'm still doing what I do. I'm still on my phone. I'm still making videos. I'm still doing all these things. But my screen time went from 7.5 hours a day to now I'm about 3 hours a day.
Great.
So that's 4 hours a day that I've cut off of my screen time, which actually equals close to 3 months a year that I'm adding of living back into my life. And so, what I've done is I've fallen back in love with wondering, right? That's something that we no longer do. Wondering is extinct now because of Google. And so,
yeah.
So what I do now is when I wonder something, I don't pick up my phone. I just wonder. I just sit in it. I just don't believe that we were created to know everything. So I've implemented no more Googling for me when I just want to if I have a question, I want to find somebody to have a conversation with them.
That's so good.
About the question, right? Like, don't go to Google. Like, well, who do I know that can help me answer this question? Call them. Next thing you know, we're having a conversation. Hey, let's have lunch.
That's
Relationship
great.
is made. I mean, all kinds of things like that. I no longer use GPS. As much as that wasn't true in LA last night, but like around Nashville, like I know where I'm going, but so many times like we open our phone and we put in we've been at Chick-fil-A 4,000 times, but we put it in there just in case it can save us a minute. And I'm sitting here going, you know what? Maybe that the 5 minutes we're going to sit in traffic is actually 5 minutes I'm supposed to spend in silence, or 5 minutes I'm supposed to spend just stopping and slowing down with the Lord. And all my car rides are now in silence, I no more podcasts in the car. Again, these aren't things that I'm saying everybody has to implement, but I've implemented so many practices I've learned from the monks and the Amish into my daily life that those are the things that have slashed my screen time in half.
Did you feel like you were coming off cocaine like the first couple of days? Were you like, was there jitter involved?
1,000%.
That's crazy.
Literally the first 3 days, listen, heart palpitations, night sweats. My body felt like it had the flu. I literally thought I was like sick. And to come to find out, it was day 4, I woke up and it felt like an elephant had stepped off my chest. So it was 3 days of literal detox. And when I talked to Dr. Amen, he said, no, your body was detoxing. The chemicals in your brain, your serotonin levels, your dopamine, all of those things were not getting what they're used to getting. And so your body was reacting to not having it. But here's something I also want to tell people that I think is really important. I learned very quickly. I would say things before this experiment like, I was addicted to my phone.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth is, I learned very quickly that actually the phone isn't what we're addicted to. The phone is simply the needle. And I tell people that the phone is the needle, just like a heroin addict would never say that they're addicted to the needle. They're addicted to the drug that's coming through the needle. What I realize is that there's something deeper than the phone, right? There's going to be other versions of whatever it is that's the needle in our lives. What is the thing that we are addicted to that is medicating some wound in our life? And for me, it was the drug of control. And that's what my phone gave me. Within parenting, within my business, within my relationships, it gave me a false sense of control. Life 360, right? Like, how fast are my kids going? All of these things that are just adding more anxiety to our life than if we never had them before.
So good.
Anyway, I can go for another hour on that.
Oh, I love it. I love it. All right. I've got so many questions for you. Can we do this for 3 hours? Okay. Another thing you shared this week that kind of punched me in my gut. You basically said, share your life with your kids versus share your life with everyone. And did you know what screen I'm talking about where you're like, I might delete this later?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So I was recently thinking about that. So I lead a small group of girls. I have 2 teenage girls. And we were going around and I shared my testimony with the girls in my small group. And I thought to myself, I literally have not shared my testimony with my own children. I'm online all the time. And I'm like, do I sit with them and tell them, or do I go straight to online and share wisdom or share something God put on my heart versus telling my kids at dinner? Was that what you were talking about? Because have your kids been honest with you about it's hard for you to be in this role? What does that look like for you?
You know, like luckily, I think I've had a pretty honest conversation with my kids, ongoing honest conversation with my kids about my job, right? Like they, there's been seasons where I've had to look at my kids and actually apologize to them for, I actually have a podcast episode, maybe we can find it and we can link it, where I told my son, I had him on my podcast.
I remember that one.
3 or 4 years ago. Yeah. And we had a video go viral of my son that, like, when he was 2 years old, we won a People's Choice Award for it, but he's crying in the video when he was 2. And I just thought, oh my gosh, it's so cute. Well, once I asked him about that on a podcast, I'd never asked him about that before. And, he was probably 14 at the time. And he just said, yeah, Dad, like, I didn't like that.
Wow.
Oh, my gosh. Right. So like, and then I start crying and I'm like, I'm so sorry. Do you forgive me? He's like, yes, I forgive you. I get it. This is your job. But so that's what, when I wrote that post or that screenshot on a story, I was thinking about that. Just sometimes we even use our kids as, like our social media, to make everybody feel better about our lives because how cute our kids look or how, all of these things. These are all just medicating behaviors that we use.
Yeah.
And also I know that this is, I don't, like I said, there's nothing wrong inherently with sharing your lives and helping people. And a lot of people have been helped by what I share. But the number one question I need to ask myself is, am I helping my family more than I'm helping all the other families?
That's great.
And I just think that needs to be the balance.
So my 18-year-old is so funny. And so they're at this spot where they're not, before it was like, don't post me. I don't want to be on there. She doesn't care now, but she will zing into the comments with like a hilarious dig at me. And so I was taking a picture the other day of something and she goes, we're about to share another parable about parenting. And I was like,
oh no, totally. Oh no. I mean, our kids.
She's like, they're so like, and they just call you out. They're like,
oh yeah,
is this for your content?
No, they will. Like if all the kids are over now, because we kind of had a house where everyone would gather, all the friends and stuff like that at our house. And if I pull my phone out to start like recording everybody, my daughter straight up that version of child that you're talking about, I had that version too. And she's like, oh, hang on, everybody. Dad's about to post some really moving music and say, this is what life is all about, or something like that.
They're such buds, but they call you out. It's so good. I posted one the other day and I think I said at the end, like, don't fear teens. Like, I was trying to talk to the mom that's like, I'm so scared of the teen years. And I said, don't fear teens. They're awesome. And she, in the comments, don't fear teens /court. And I'm like, shut up. You're so mean. But, okay, let's talk about one of the things I love about you is you have such a cross section of people. You're a Christian, but not a ton of not everybody following you is a Christian. You have some like unique way of saying like, we're all humans. And that's a part of a book you wrote and a part of your podcast. So tell me like what you're working on. How can we be better humans? And I told you before we got on, like, just stop being jerks. Like, why are we such jerks?
Well, you're right. Like I actually feel like my assignment in this season, I had an assignment where I was kind of like super evangelical in the church, nothing but kind of biblical content and helping people spiritually. And, I feel like God has kind of moved me into a season where I'm speaking to the spiritually curious. whatever that is. If it's someone that's spiritually curious about Buddhism or kind of whatever it is, like I'm a blood of the cross, power of the resurrection, Holy Spirit filled, Jesus loving dude. But I want to talk to everybody. And so I kind of have created a space that is safe for anybody to come into. And we talk about our humanity. And then I'm hoping that as we talk about our humanity, they're going to be like, oh, but something's still different about this guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like what, and then in my DMs, I can get into some different conversations. But right now, what I'm really excited about are two different things that I'm kind of building. I've got my Instagram. I think that people come to, that's kind of the widest part of my funnel, right? So it's like, to get into Carlos's world, come to Instagram. It's like, dude, this guy's great, right? I've got atheists that follow me. I've got witches, literally like a group of like witches that read my book, How to Human. And everyone's kind of like in, everyone's like in. But then kind of like the next step down is I'd say like my podcast, which I just relaunched and I'm calling it Human School.
Love it.
And so Human School, I'm just interviewing ordinary humans with extraordinary lives.
Cool.
So like I interviewed like a ethical hacker who like hacks government websites to try to find ways that they could protect themselves better. You know, a World War II veteran, a man that lived in his car with his family homeless for a year. So just being curious, because in this season, I have a phrase that I'm trying to help people live through that are kind of following my life, which is curiosity leads to empathy. Empathy leads to trust. Trust leads to relationship, and relationship leads to change.
Wow.
And I think in the world that we live in right now, as you were kind of saying, like, just stop being jerks.
Yeah.
I think the way that we get to that is we teach people how to be curious about people that aren't like them.
I love that.
And so the curiosity will lead to change, but there's some steps in the middle. So that's the podcast. And then last but not least, I've got this really cool community I'm launching called Human School. And same name as the podcast, but I'm taking people through my book, Reconnected. So it's like 12, weeks of content. There's an online portal, live Zoom calls every week where I'm helping people cut. I promise to people is if they go through my course, I will promise to give them 2.5 months back a year of living. And so like, that's the promise. So like, if you're a parent, if you're like, gosh, I've tried 1,000 times to do digital fasts and to try to not be on my phone, none of that's really working for us. So this is like a super practical way that I can walk people through falling back in love with what's on the other side of the screen, things I learned from the monks, things I learned from the Amish, and give people 2.5 months back a year of their lives to be with their family, to be with their kids, to be in their relationships. So I'm really excited about that.
That's awesome.
In school. Yep.
Well, and I love the curiosity leads to, what was the next one?
Empathy.
Yes. So I will be honest. I've been listening to too much news and all day long. And my, family's like, what has happened to you? Like, this is not who you are. But I was just very interested in this election. And so I was feeling unrest about the DEI stuff and just like, what does that feel like to someone that's Black? Like, what does that feel like? So I normally would call Winter Pitts about that, but that's my dear friend that passed away. And so I did the next best thing and called her daughter, Alina. And we had the best conversation. She's in Nashville, but she voice messaged me back and forth. But I left more empathetic going like, all these headlines are like, so hateful on both sides. It's like, what does that feel like? And, she had some interesting input, but I want to do more of that. And so
totally.
I think
and it's just curiosity. It's just like, how can I be curious this week? And so that's something that I try to do every single day, especially with the people that kind of drive me crazy. I'm like, okay, if they're driving me crazy, then I guess that's a call for curiosity to come in and let's see. It doesn't mean I'm going to end up agreeing with them. It doesn't mean that I'm even going to end up liking them. But what it's going to do is it's going to help me have a little bit of empathy.
I love it. All right. I want to circle back to connection with teens. So give me a couple ideas. Like you said, y'all are the house, but what are some ways that you've connected with teens in general or your son or your daughters when they were all in your home?
Yeah. It honestly is so simple. I just got into whatever they were into. Just, whether it be, some influencer that they follow and that they love their YouTube. Okay, guess what? I'm subscribing and I'm finding out. And so, with my daughter, I would watch YouTube videos with her, and then I would bring up conversations about that YouTuber at lunch or something. She's like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, I saw that too." Yeah, this is even with my 18-year-old son. We play FIFA 25 on PlayStation every single day. I'm 51 years old, playing PlayStation every single day, and actually waxing him, kicking his butt. And so, it's like that. It's just like, what are they into? And I'm going to get into it too. And so those are the ways that I
Are any of them into pickleball with you?
So my son actually works at Pickleball Kingdom
in
Nashville. So here's
go.
the thing. Now he got into what I'm Actually, they got me into pickleball. So they were playing pickleball first. Then I kind of took over. I'm now like the head of the pickleball in the family. But now my son is working at a place with all the pros are in there. He's getting really good. So yeah, we're all into pickleball.
Did you see that recent ad? I can't remember who it is. It was the girl from Schitt's Creek. Morna walks out and they're this older couple and I'm not even going to disclose. They walk out to this younger couple and they're kind of laughing like, oh, well, this will be easy. And they just wax them. I mean, they're just like, this is my parents are 70 and they just barely move their hands.
Yeah.
My husband's like diving on the ground. It's amazing.
I know. No, it was a Super Bowl ad. Yeah, it was hilarious. I've watched that commercial over and over.
Because I bet when you walk out on the pickleball court, you're like, you can't make assumptions. You're like,
no. I mean, you cannot I was playing with my doubles partner. I mean, this is how into pickleball I am. Like, I actually have like a legitimate partner that this is like, we practice together and we walked down there and these two men that we played were like, I don't know, mid 70s. And I think they beat us 11-0, 11-3. Like they just waxed us. I'm like, yep, can't make assumptions.
It's amazing. Hey, Carlos, you are the best. I'm going to be praying for your family this week, and I know you'll do an amazing. You always have honored him so well, and so I know that you'll do an amazing job and get through whatever thing you're going to say or do for him is going to be just perfect. And thank you for sharing your lives. And I do feel like there's so many things I gleaned from you over the years, and even bird watching. Can we get some bird watching back?
Yeah, let's get some of that. Spring is coming. It's on its way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. Take care.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Pardon the Mess. As always, we've got more encouragement and resources over at christianparenting.org. And you can also stay connected with us on social media at Pardon the Mess. And if you like this episode, I'd love for you to do two things. Press follow on whatever podcast platform you love, and also be sure to leave a rating so other parents can find us. Remember, you're never alone in this beautiful mess of parenting.
With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.